Hello, Wolfpack. What's going on? We're here back with another live stream. Just 10 minutes behind schedule here. Hey guys, I've had some problems with my second monitor, and so the chat is going to be on my phone today, and that's why I'll be looking down quite a bit. Live streaming is actually not as easy as it looks, apparently. So look, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be jumping into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin dominance, and then obviously we'll be going into some of the questions you guys have about the market in general. We've got a lot of things to talk about in regards to interest rates today as well, and the Federal Reserve and the FOMC meeting. FOMC, that one meeting that was going on with Jerome Powell just a few hours ago. Actually, I haven't had a chance to rarely catch up on that, and that's because I'm in Australia. I've only kind of just gotten up this morning a couple of hours ago, gone for a run, and just got back on the computer here. But what I have heard is that interest rates are staying the same for now, and those changes will be taking place potentially in March. And so that's interesting, and that's kind of what we expected. And so nothing really too new happening there. I'll wait a few minutes here to read the chat for a bit until a lot of people kind of join in. We've got 17 right now, which is great to see. Hey guys, how you going? What's up, Wolf? How you going? Sup? All right, awesome. So we've got a few people in the chat now. Let's jump straight into it, because at the end of the day, guys, with these streams, if you're not here on time, if you don't get here while I'm streaming, I'm always going to upload some of the clips from it, when I'm done, and also you can go back obviously and watch it. And there should be live chat available this time. I know last time when I uploaded the stream, the live chat wasn't there. It should be here this time. So if you watch this back, if you don't have time, feel free to leave and come back later and watch the replay of it if you want to. But anyway, let's jump straight back into Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I have multiple different charts on Bitcoin to show you today because there's multiple interesting scenarios to play out here on Bitcoin. You snooze, you lose. That's correct. That's the problem with being Australian. I don't know how many Australians I have in the chat right now, but like when everything happens in the US, it's like 2 a.m. or 2 a.m. to like 6 a.m. It's very, very late. And so being a crypto person in Australia is not exactly the easiest thing, but I work with it. But daily chart on Bitcoin, let's get into it. We have the descending wedge formation as usual, as I've probably said thousands of times in the last 2 weeks, right? Descending wedge formation, these yellow dotted lines. We've broken back into the wedge. Very interesting, right? Very interesting. And the volume on this move, however, has been quite low. Okay, we saw within the 3 green candles, we saw 1 day of kind of okay volume, 1 day of a massive spike, and that's because we had a wick to the downside. That was not positive volume. If you go to the hourly chart, you can see that's not green volume, and so it doesn't necessarily count, and that was low volume. I'd consider that low volume. And we had ascending volume here on the green candle, but then we also had ascending volume again on the red candle, and that's because of the meeting with the Federal Reserve. So I think that there's multiple things here manipulating the volume. I don't think the volume itself is inherently strong, and so I'd consider this a low volume week. And I think that when you see low volume in an upwards trend, like a 3-day upwards trend like we've had now, it's usually a bearish indicator. And so if you speak to any kind of crypto person on Twitter or kind of analyst, they'll tell you that if volume is decreasing, the current trend is unsustainable. So, for example, if you see decreasing volume in an uptrend, that means the uptrend is unsustainable. If you see decreasing volume in a downtrend, that means the downtrend is unsustainable. And we've seen on basically every uptrend on Bitcoin here, for example, from around December 20th, through to around December 25th, which is Christmas, very, very low volume. Same thing happened here, January 11th through to January 14th, very low volume, and those moves ultimately end up getting rejected. Now, chat, I will read this chat in a second. I'm just going to finish analyzing Bitcoin. So I might take about 10 minutes here just to start off, finish at Bitcoin, then I'll do some altcoins, then I'll come back, do some Ethereum, do some altcoins again, and then I'll finish up. Right, so I'll put the chat on pause for a second. You guys can keep putting your questions in. I'll read them all in about 10 minutes here. I'll just finish up Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, as you guys would know, is basically the most important thing you can analyze. Bitcoin is the market mover. It's the leader of the market. Everyone knows this. Ethereum's the leader of the altcoins, so we're looking at Ethereum as well. But Bitcoin controls basically everything. And so when you're analyzing Bitcoin, you're essentially analyzing every altcoin at the same time. So descending. Well, I wouldn't say it's descending volume factually, but I theorize that the volume's very low here. It's just been pumped up due to global events. So I think low volume. If we headed over to the hourly chart, and we'll come back to the daily chart in a second, we can see that we had a yellow resistance line here on the hourly chart. And it kind of almost resembles a wedge formation. We could even draw in a wedge formation. You'd probably get away with it, something like that. And we broke that to the downside, okay? And obviously ascending wedge formations are incredibly bearish charting patterns. We can see that, as we rose here, this volume was kind of low, it was decreasing on the rise. And then obviously as the Federal Reserve meeting kicked off, we saw that volume start to ascend again. So look, rejection from that yellow resistance line. We've come back down to the red support line, which I'll go back over daily chart right now and show you what that is. That red support line is this uptrending red support that we've seen from around the December period through to around July play out, and we've kind of leveled out on that support right now. So look, going into this further, and we can look at even more indicators right now, we can see that, for example, things like the Ichimoku cloud are trending downwards heavily, and they've actually trended downwards below 40k. And so if we were to reach that, say, in mid to late February, that would be below 40k, and so we'd be coming up on a potential rejection zone. So it is kind of critical importance for the bulls that, if you are bullish on Bitcoin, it's of critical importance that we swing up to the upside sooner rather than later within the next couple of weeks, because once we kind of consolidate in this region, in this 30k region, you could argue that, hey, we consolidated in this region in May to July, and look, we turned out fine. I don't think that's the same scenario right now as this Ichimoku cloud trends downwards towards the major resistance. We're not in the same scenario at all, actually. I mean, in May to July, one of the only reasons why Bitcoin actually rallied is because the vast majority of people would have thought that a 4-year cycle or lengthening cycles was taking place. Now that we've had the top in November, and I think that's very decisively the top, if you disagree with me, let me know why. There's no kind of hope at the end of the tunnel here. In May to July, everyone knew that, hey, this was not the bull market top because it's happened too quickly, right? We need more time. We need more of a bull market, and we did see more of a bull market. And now, since it's happening now, well, it's happened basically in alignment with the 4-year cycle theory, and people would believe that, hey, maybe the top is in, maybe we are entering some sort of bear market right now. And so that Ichimoku cloud trending downwards towards major resistance in that market environment is very bearish. Looking at the bull market support band, it's still trending at that between the 53k to 48k area. You'll notice that I have 48k as a thick blue line. That is because 48k is my critical breaker. I think that 48k is the most important price on this chart right now. If we break above 48k, and by the time we get there, we would have flipped the bull market support band, flipped the Ichimoku cloud, and also flipped the 50-day and 200-day SMA. And also, if we headed over to the weekly chart, we'll also flip the 50-week SMA. So those are the things I'm looking at for the daily chart on Bitcoin. And let's just keep this rolling for a second. I'll get to the chat very shortly because I'm going to upload this Bitcoin segment to YouTube after, for those of you who weren't able to tune into the live stream. So I'll look at the chat in a second, don't worry. And we've got one more thing here on the daily chart. If we look at the volume profile, the VVPR, a lot of you would know my analogy I like to use in the volume profile. I like to think of these yellow spikes as hills, right? When you're at a crevice of a hill, or when you're at, the valley of a hill, or the valley between two hills, it's going to be significantly harder to run up both of those hills, and so you're at a bit of a point of contention. We've dropped below the valley. The valley was at 40k, the major support, and now we are kind of on top of a hill, which means that if we run downwards towards the major resistance, we're going to be running there very, very quickly, and we can retest 40k very quickly. But if we run downwards the other way, we can retest 30k very quickly. So it's a bit of an indecisive position that Bitcoin is in as a whole. What I will say is that if we lose this major support line, this red support line properly, we didn't really lose it properly, we only closed one candle below it, we will be heading straight towards 30k. So let me just clarify there. If we close a daily candle below 36k, we're going to be heading straight towards 30k and retest that support block. And that's a 20% drop. It might not sound big, but these numbers are kind of deceiving. If we close below 36k, I'm saying we're going to have a 20% drop to 30k. That is a significant claim to make, right? That's not just a kind of like, it could happen, could not happen. 20% drop is a large drop. When you lower the numbers, obviously the percentages kind of change a little bit, and people would be used to when we're at 60k, a 10% is only 6k. All right, now 10% is 10% is 6k. Now it's only 3k. And looking at let's jump into the weekly chart here first of all, and and kind of looking at the weekly chart, and we'll actually jump into a different Bitcoin chart to try get a kind of better thing. Actually, yeah, before we talk about the weekly chart, let's talk about this Bitcoin chart. I've got a second Bitcoin chart here that I've been looking into in recent Bitcoin videos. You guys would know about it because I've brung it up for about maybe 3 or 4 days now. And this is my kind of second scenario in Bitcoin. Now, you would know that I saw on the Coinbase chart that I just looked at, I saw a descending wedge formation. Now, on this chart, this Bitstamp chart, I'm seeing a descending channel formation, and this is kind of like playing into, well, there's different interpretations of a chart that you could have. This is the second interpretation. And using this interpretation, you come to this kind of the same conclusion, but you can come to it more concisely. This descending channel formation has been playing out since mid-November. It's continued to play out for about 3.5, well, not 3.5 months, but almost 3 months here on Bitcoin, about 2.5 months. And if it were to continue, we would end up at the 200-week SMA, which is our major kind of support zone where I think Bitcoin's going to bottom. Here in this yellow scenario in which we don't have any bounces to the upside, right? If the channel just continues, we'll end up there at around the early March. Okay, so early March. However, if we do break out of the channel, okay, I would expect this orange scenario to play out. I would expect a bounce upwards, a rejection from 48K around the time of the next Federal Reserve meeting. When the Federal Reserve raises interest rates like they said they're going to do, we will see a crash in Bitcoin and across financial markets, as raising interest rates for the Federal Reserve will essentially put them at risk of recession. There'll be a lot of fear in the market there. That could be priced in beforehand, but we'll have to wait and see. But essentially, I'm hoping the yellow scenario plays out. I'm hoping we just go downwards because I want to get this over with as quickly as possible, and I think a lot of people do. I'm not trading in this current market. I'm not trading in a sharp downwards trend. There's simply no point. What I am doing is keeping an eye on the market and looking for a great entry, and I think that great entry is going to come at the 200-week SMA. Looking at my third Bitcoin chart here, we can see this longer term macro scale. Actually, let's look at this macro chart later in the video. What I will do is I'll bring up the weekly chart on Bitcoin, and then we'll finish up the Bitcoin analysis, and we'll start heading into some altcoins by your chat recommendations or some questions there. Let's get a fresh Bitcoin chart. I don't think I've used a Gemini chart in a long time. All right, sweet. So we can look at the weekly chart, and a couple of things are quite striking for the weekly chart. Namely, let's bring up the Gaussian channel. Gaussian channel is a bit of an interesting thing we've got here. Looking at logarithmic scale, and deleting this stuff. The Gaussian channel, this is probably not the best chart to look at. 1 second, let's go back to the index, and we just won't save it because we need a longer term kind of thing. Okay, so the Gaussian channel is interesting. We've dropped below the center line of the Gaussian channel, as you would be able to see here. We've seen a red candle below the center line of the Gaussian channel. Now, this has only happened 2 times in history, and both of those times were bear market lows on Bitcoin. We can see that in 2014, after the bull market, we dropped below the center line of the Gaussian channel. Right? We came back up, retested it, and ended up at a bear market bottom within about 3 or 4 months of dropping below it. Okay, so we dropped below it at around $460. Within about 3 or 4 months, we were at $160. Okay, same thing in 2018. We dropped below it at around $6,000, $7,000. 3 months later, or 4 months later on this occasion, we were at $3,000. Right, we've dropped below it now at around $39,000. All right, and say, for example, let's say it happens in March. That's 2 months later or 2.5 months later, we would be at the $20,000 region. Okay, and if it happens in, say, it's going to happen in March either way, late March, same thing. So regardless, we've dropped below that center line of the Gaussian channel, which on the weekly chart is very, very bearish. Okay, and we're looking at another thing called the Ichimoku cloud, which I've already looked at before, and we can see that on the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly chart is very, very important. And we've actually dropped below the cloud itself, closed below it, and now we're kind of testing it for resistance right now, which is, again, very bearish. The Ichimoku cloud is one thing that a lot of the bulls have used this year, including myself, since July, as kind of a reason for a bounce, especially in September. We can see that we were holding that support in September, and especially on this shoulder here we formed in late December, right? We were holding it for support there still. And that was kind of a reason for a dead cat bounce that a lot of people were calling for, or an actual bounce to all-time highs. So there's 2 things that aren't looking too great for the weekly chart. And with that, we can sum up the Bitcoin kind of analysis with the weekly chart, again, using the 200-week SMA and using the 50-week SMA. We can see that the 50-week SMA is currently at 48K. Okay, I want to make something very clear. When we are below the 50-week SMA, historically, when we get below the 50-week SMA, the next logical target for Bitcoin is always, and always has been, the 200-week SMA. So if you guys don't know what these are, when we get below the red line on Bitcoin historically, right? When we get below the red line on Bitcoin historically, the next target has always been and never failed to be the green line. We've dropped below the red line. We dropped below it at around 49K. Okay, and the target from that is the green line. Now, until we get back above the red line and invalidate that scenario, I won't be bullish on Bitcoin. Okay, and the reason why I'm bullish at 48K is because, well, this red line is at 48K. And for us to flip 48K, we'll flip that line and we'll also flip a bunch of other things in the daily chart. So very critical lines, the 50-week SMA and the 200-week SMA. I would expect Bitcoin to bottom out on the 200-week SMA. If it does not, I would not say this was a conventional bear market, because in conventional bear markets in cryptocurrency, we always see this happen. This is not just a Bitcoin thing. You can go on many, many altcoin charts and even Ethereum, I'm pretty sure, and you can see this play out endlessly. So that is the Bitcoin analysis. For those of you who caught this on YouTube, thanks for watching. And on the live stream, I'll jump into the chat right now. I'll scroll up. We've got a lot of messages here. Let's see what we can do. I hope you guys enjoyed that analysis. Let me know if you have any questions about it. Of course, I'm happy to answer any Bitcoin videos. Do you still hold any Digibyte? Honey Badger says, do you still hold any Digibyte? As in altcoins in general right now, guys, every single coin, every single altcoin, all gone. I don't hold any altcoins right now. I haven't for, I think, since late November. Well, let's just see the chart here. We can just go to the Bitcoin chart. I'll tell you when I sold, and you can go back to my videos from this time frame, and you can see me saying, "Hey guys, I think it's probably time to exit the market here." I sold kind of, I think, in one of these two large candles. I think when we saw this bearish engulfing candle here in the low 60K region, I remember it being around 62, 63K, and I remember saying, oh, it doesn't look good at all. And then the next day at around 60K, I said, I'm going to be selling my coins. I don't like the look of this market right now. I'll buy back when there's continuation to the upside. I said this because of a long-term bearish divergence, well, not a long-term, but a large bearish divergence from October through to November, and also some bearish MACD cross and bearish action in general going on there. I didn't like the look of it, and I sold all my altcoins way up there. Thankfully, I was able to avoid a large drop in the market. And so, no, I don't hold any Digibyte. I do like Digibyte. I do think Digibyte will always have a place in the market, right? There's always niches for those kind of altcoins in which they rival Bitcoin. People are always going to think that, hey, this one's better than Bitcoin. And, you know, and I think that Digibyte, Nano, they're kind of the prime Bitcoin Cash as well, obviously. They're the prime examples of the Bitcoin rivals that will always have a place in the market, that will always stick around. Do I think they'll ever reach amazing popularity? Probably not. But I do not deny that they'll be around for a while. And it's had that tried and tested kind of longevity in the market. I think Digibyte's been around since 2013 or 2014. And so when you're looking at it like that, yeah, well, the chances of Digibyte staying around to the next cycle is pretty high. Digibyte was a coin that, did it reach all-time highs? Let's see. I think Digibyte did reach all-time highs. I'm not 100% sure. Let me check. I think it was Nano that didn't. Digibyte on Binance. Well, we can't really get the right chart up here. I assume, who would have had it here? Bittrex, maybe? Okay, Bittrex, yeah, we did reach all-time highs on Digibyte. And as you can see, just a quick analysis here on Digibyte, actually. We've dropped below this major support, we've come back, we've retested it for resistance, and now we're bottoming out at bear market prices, essentially, or close to bear market prices. So, doesn't look good, and I don't expect it to look good. I would expect it to drop all the way down to bear market prices, literally all the way down to probably, like, you know, we're looking at like 10 cents. You know, maybe, you know, 17 to 10 cents is the next support on Digibyte. If I think we're in a bear market on Bitcoin, there's no reason for me to be bullish on altcoins right now. And that's why I've kind of stopped in this market. So do I still hold Digibyte? No. What about Theta token? Yeah, look, I looked at Theta the other day in the live stream. Not really much difference there. I do like Theta fundamentally. I talked about it quite extensively, so go ahead and check that out. Do you think Bitcoin will reach 100K this year? No, I don't think Bitcoin's going to reach 100K this year. For many reasons that I just described in my Bitcoin analysis that you would have just seen. Let me go back and bring up, see if I can get it here, my original chart. Here we go. So on a macro scale, if you're asking a macro question, let's look at a macro scale. Okay, Bitcoin, I think, has had the bear market top. Historically on Bitcoin, and I know people don't like historical data because it's misled them a lot in this cycle, but I would encourage you to kind of just give it a chance. Historically, between top to top of each cycle, there's been 1,400 days. Between bottom to bottom of each cycle, there's been 1,400 days. And between bottom to top, 1,064 days. Okay? The top is in, according to the 4-year cycle theory, the way I understand it. And so for us to reach 100K this year would mean that this 4-year cycle theory, as I understand it, is completely wrong. And the current TA I'm seeing is misleading. And, it could happen. But it would take an actual massive global news event. It's not just going to happen naturally. There's literally no chance of it happening naturally this year. We're strongly in bear market territory. We've seen a 50% correction. And so it could happen. I wouldn't be betting on it happening. Say if we break 48K, we can talk about it. Okay, but right now we're nowhere near that. Let me read some more questions here. CKB, I'm not really sure what that is. Are you looking like you're asking about the fundamentals? And so I'm not going to have a kind of opinion there. TA on Dusk. Yeah, I can do some TA on Dusk. I'll do some Dusk TA. Let me bring up Dusk quickly. I don't think I have a Dusk chart. I don't think Binance is probably the right thing to look at here. Maybe it is. Yeah, I think it's a pretty new coin, right? 2019. I'm on the weekly chart. So look, we'll go on the daily chart for Dusk. It looks like a strong uptrend, which is great. Yeah, okay. So Dusk is one of these coins here that a lot of people would think look great, and one of those reasons being is because, well, just looking at it logically, right? It's done pretty well in the wake of the Bitcoin correction. Let me get some water. It's done pretty well in the wake of the Bitcoin correction. In kind of January, it kind of topped out in January. And so you'll know that Bitcoin actually topped out in November. And so for Dusk to come up here all the way until January, November, the Bitcoin top came up for Dusk, well, probably around 32 cents. This thing pumped all the way up, probably a 3x away from that point, even more. And so it's easy to believe, it's easy to understand why people think that, hey, Dusk is, amazing. And it's when, let's look at the TA here and let's constantly getting back into Dusk because it's gone up in a downwards trend, which is great. But it doesn't mean to continue to do so. And what I'm seeing for Dusk quite clearly here is this area here being the major support block, and that's between around 40 cents and between around 48 cents, right? That is the major support block for Dusk that I'm seeing. Now, what I am also seeing, which is incredibly bearish, is a long-term or a massive bearish divergence on Dusk coming all the way back here to November 2021, which you will know as the Bitcoin top. So although Dusk was having this clear upwards trend, and this is my first time looking at Dusk for a long time, although Dusk was having this clear upwards trend, it was pretty clear that it should have actually topped out with Bitcoin, and it was seeing this due to irrational retail interest in the coin. So we've had this bearish divergence, which suggests that, hey, this uptrend is unsustainable. If we looked at the volume, we see that we have, massively descending volume since December, right? Just straight down in this longer term upwards trend, which is another bearish sign telling us that, hey, this move was very much triggered or very much sustained by irrational retail buyers rather than actual sustained retail investors. So there's a difference between a buyer and an investor. A buyer is looking for a quick flip of the coin, a quick trade. An investor is looking for the long term, right? And when you see an abundance of investors, you don't see something like this happen where you see a massive bearish divergence, right? You see long-term sustained growth. And that's not what's happening here on Dusk. Now, Ikomoku Cloud, we've lost it 50 and 200 day. We've rejected off the 50 day on 3 separate occasions here. It doesn't look good. We're going to come down and test this red support box here. I'll make it green so it's a lot easier to see. Going to come down and test that. We will probably see a reaction off of that. However, we have already seen a reaction off of that in the last few candles. And so it is a potential we do something like that. But what I'm seeing here on Dusk is a longer term M formation with bearish divergence, very bearish. And if we do see a reaction off this, I'll see actually probably a head and shoulders formation like that. Okay, so I don't think Dusk looks good. It goes into the fact that I don't think many altcoins look good, but particularly this one, because it hasn't retraced as much as we would like to see in a coin this late in the cycle. Do you think an altcoin season could happen if the Russian-Ukraine thing blows over? Okay, so I'm going through every single comment, guys. So if you have anything to say, this is your chance. But do you think an altcoin season could happen if the Russia and Ukraine thing blows over? I looked at altcoin season in my last video. I'll look at it again. After I read, say, 5 or 10 more comments, I'll go and talk about Ethereum. I'll come back to the comments, and then I'll come talk about the stock market. So altcoin season is a thing I talked about in the last live stream. We'll talk about it again because a lot of people have questions about it still. I know that not everyone gets a chance to watch my live streams, and so some of you wouldn't have been here for the last one. And what we're seeing on kind of the Bitcoin dominance chart, and before I get into it, Bitcoin dominance is a chart that measures the percentage of total wealth in Bitcoin in relation to altcoins. Okay, so you can see 42% is the current valuation. That means that 42% of the money in cryptocurrency is in Bitcoin, and the rest is in altcoins. Okay, so that's what it is. And what we see historically is kind of when Bitcoin dominance crashes massively, like we saw in 2017 here, like a big sharp drop. That is an altcoin season in which money is rapidly flowing out of Bitcoin into altcoins. That's an altcoin season. We saw the same thing between around March to May. And you can see in March to May, if you scroll back to altcoin charts, March to May is where the majority of the gains happen for most altcoins. Okay, that is an altcoin season we saw in this cycle. And so for those of you who say we didn't see an alt season this cycle, I would beg to differ. Right, we saw a drop in Bitcoin dominance from 61% all the way to 40%. Just because altcoins didn't rally as much as they did in the last cycle, that doesn't mean it wasn't an altcoin season, right? There was a clear altcoin season here. And a lot of people have been saying that we're going to see another one, and particularly during the blow off top that didn't happen, a lot of people were calling for it, and we can see that we've kind of bottomed out on Bitcoin on this major Bitcoin dominance support since May, since the last altcoin season. We've been playing around in the sandbox, as Benjamin Coe would say, between 40% and 50%, and we've tested 40% 1, 2, 3 separate times. And so if we were to drop below this 40%, so in this major support, I would say, yes, we're going to be seeing an altcoin season. However, instead of doing that, we've broken the white resistance line to the upside, and we're targeting 50% next. And when we see a bear market on Bitcoin, which I think is happening, you usually see Bitcoin dominance slowly trend to the upside for the entirety of the bear market. And so I think that we will be doing that, slowly trending to the upside throughout the entirety of this bear market. However, what is worth noting is that this bear market is happening a lot faster than previous bear markets due to the global fears in the world right now with, like you said, Russia and Ukraine, and with things like interest rates and inflation. So the bear market we're seeing right now is incredibly fast. If we were in 2017, for us to get a 50% drop, it took months. It's taken a couple of months, right? By months, I mean like 6 months to almost a year. It's taken a couple of months this time. There's a lot of fear in the market right now. And so, look, when you speak about a bear market in cryptocurrency, when you speak about a bear market in Bitcoin, you're thinking of a traditional 3-year bear market, not really how it's going to work this time. We've dropped so quickly that the process is accelerated. And even in a traditional 3-year bear market, we don't see 3 years of bearishness. We see 1 year of bearishness and then 2 years of slow building and then 1 year of blow off top. Okay, so a 3-year bear market doesn't exist. A 1-year bear market exists. And even right now, that 1-year bear market's probably going to get cut down to a 6-month bear market. And so there really isn't a long time to be waiting. If you're thinking of leaving cryptocurrency, exiting and coming back later, you're going to be coming back in a couple of months maximum, or a few months maximum, because it doesn't seem like at this point in time we're going to be waiting for a long time. We're just so undervalued. Not undervalued, but we're so, what's the word? I guess pushed down to the downside where we're, kind of at an exponential rate where we're not really meant to be. And so, it's happened quickly is what I'm saying. And it will continue to happen quickly with all the global concerns going on and interest rates being risen in March. So no, I don't think we're going to be seeing an altcoin season. I think it's too late. I think if we were going to see it, we would have seen it on a dead cat bounce higher up. We didn't really see a substantial dead cat bounce, and so an altcoin season didn't really happen. All right. 2021 crypto boom was artificially done by all the free money in the US. Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it was artificial, but I don't think it was artificial by stimulus. So the 2021 crypto boom, as you would say, I think was actually kind of, it was done naturally. I mean, the 4-year cycle was quite clear, but I think the reason why it was so choppy was because this time there was a lot more institutional interest in Bitcoin, and when there's institutional interest, there's manipulation, and when there's manipulation, it means the price action gets quote unquote harder unless people make money and more people get flushed out, and so it's no longer straight up, it's more of an actual financial market. Sold analysis, thanks mate. Ethereum might not even recover this time. We'll jump into Ethereum in a second. We'll just look at a couple more things first. Can you look at Pocket Network chart? I'll consider it. Harmony 1, I looked at it last time. Sorry, I only just joined the stream, but did the Fed change your prediction for the upcoming months? Anyway, no, the Federal Reserve raising interest rates did not change my prediction. My prediction was always that. The Federal Reserve has actually just sped it up. And especially Russia and Ukraine, it's just sped up what I already predicted. Many analysts use the Gaussian channel on the 5-day time frame. Why do you prefer the weekly time frame? I think the weekly time frame is more commonly used than the 5-day time frame. And when you're looking at technical analysis, the reason why price action happens is because people are buying and selling. And so they're buying and selling because of the charts. And you need to look at the most popular charts, because if a weekly chart looks bad, a lot of people are looking at that weekly chart and a lot of people are selling because of it. And yeah, so the 5-day time frame chart, I've heard about that before and I've used it for myself. Although the Gaussian channel, we can actually just look at it right now. But you know what I mean? Essentially what I'm saying is that the more people look at a specific chart, the more that chart's going to have an effect if it's bullish or bearish. So let's go to the Gaussian channel on the 5-day chart. It's probably going to give me the same results, to be honest. We'll just look at it very quickly. Yeah, essentially the same thing. It's actually a little bit less concise. So I'd rather use the weekly chart there. Let's read a couple more comments, then we'll jump into Ethereum. 22 viewers. Thanks for watching, guys. No rush when you're playing with real money, but like you said, the sooner we move down, the better. Completely correct. Do you think we'll have a mini altcoin season before we reach the 200-day SMA of the 200-week, I assume you mean? No, I just covered that. I don't think so. It depends what you mean by altcoin season, though. Altcoin season doesn't necessarily mean altcoin's going to go 10x. It could just mean that altcoins go up against Bitcoin. And that could even happen when altcoins are going down. It just means they're dropping less than Bitcoin. What's your advice for people that didn't exit the market with altcoins when you did? I'm holding a lot. Well, look, my advice to people is still holding altcoins. It's a tough question. It's hard because the lower down we get on Bitcoin, the higher risk it is to sell. Right? If you sold up here at 60K, that's great. Sold here at 50K, that's great. You sold here at 45K, okay, that's okay. You sold here at 56K, 36K when we've dropped already 50%, it's getting quite high risk. And so I suppose you just need to ask yourself the question, do you think that you have the altcoins that are actually going to be around in the next cycle? If you've bought into a bunch of altcoins that came out in 2021, or came out, literally months ago, and they're not really gathering the attention, they're kind of dropped already to bear market prices, they're dead fundamentally, the community's dead, you can be pretty sure that altcoin's not going to recover. I've done a kind of a calculation in the past using the last cycle's data, and you guys can find this on my YouTube channel from a while ago. I'll probably link it in the live stream description after this video is done, but I did a video and I looked at the top 100 from 2017, and out of the top 100, I think it was less than 10 altcoins from the top 100 in 2017 actually reached all-time highs in this cycle. So that's 90% of the top 100 coins from the last cycle did not reach new all-time highs this cycle. And so that just goes to show you that altcoins are very risky bets going into bear markets. But again, depends on what you're holding, depends on your position size, depends how much you need the money. I can't really answer that question too well, mate, unfortunately. I've lost my place here. Let me scroll up. 1 second, guys. Many analysts, yeah, okay. Do you think future bull markets will continue progressively will have less gains than prior bull markets? Yes, I think that diminishing returns will continue to take place over time due to larger market caps, of course. Just don't sell. Yes, of course. Thanks for the explanation. Thanks, mate. No problem. All right, I'll jump into some of these questions in a bit. We'll look into Ethereum quickly. Thanks, Ronco. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much for you do. Greetings from San Diego, California. Hello, California family. What's going on? I have never been to California. I've never been to the US in general. I would like to go there, but it's probably not the best time to travel, seeing as I'm Australian, and you leave the country, you're not going to get back here for another 42 years, and that's if you manage to get out. So thanks for that donation. I'm pretty sure you donated in the last one as well, mate. I really appreciate your support, of course. Thanks for that. We'll jump into Ethereum right now, and we'll do a quick analysis on Ethereum, and then after Ethereum, we'll jump into some more questions. So keep typing those comments. I'll scroll back up to where I left off so I can keep going as best as I can. I'm trying to get to everyone here, guys. We'll go to Ethereum. And we'll do this Ethereum analysis for about 5 minutes, and then I'll jump back into some comments in a second, as I've just said. So Ethereum, not much has changed from the last video. Really not much to talk about here on Ethereum, really. I mean, it just looks bad, right? Looking at Ethereum here, we can see we had a long-term ascending wedge formation. We've dropped that, we've lost that, and that happened around 3,800, and we've dropped about 43% from that zone. So a big drop from that ascending wedge formation, and we're currently kind of below support here on Ethereum, and between support and resistance. And so we can flip this box red, because that is a resistance box now. That box between 3,000 and 2,600 is red. Now on Ethereum, the critical breaker is 4K. And you'll ask, hey, why is that so high? Why is the Bitcoin critical breaker so low and the Ethereum critical breaker so high? Because I have less confidence that Ethereum will drive the market than I do with Bitcoin. And Ethereum needs to get higher, in my opinion, than Bitcoin does in order for me to be bullish on it again. Okay, you could even say, hey, maybe 3,400. It really depends on your perspective. The bull market support band is below 4K, and so maybe I would be inclined to consider 3,400 as the major support for Ethereum we need to break. And for that reason, I'll put a thick blue line there. But right now, I'm looking at 4K. And as this trends downwards a bit more, I'd probably look at that quite extensively. We've got the 50-day, the 50-day for 200-day, and the bull market support band at around that 3,700 to 3,500 region. So that's the major resistance for sure. Yeah, I agree. And we need to be getting above that point in order to be bullish again on Ethereum. Now, what we can see on Ethereum is a death cross coming in. Okay, and a lot of people don't like death crosses. A lot of people see death crosses on Bitcoin and they think a reason for a bounce, right? A death cross is when the 50-day SMA crosses the 200-day SMA, and we usually see a capitulation after that point. Okay, so what we saw on Bitcoin only a couple of weeks ago, actually, is a death cross, and it actually led to a downwards trend for once. In May, we saw a death cross, and it actually led to an upwards trend, or not much more of a downwards trend. They're quite misleading, but even though they're misleading, generally they are bearish. It's a bearish indicator. So yes, sometimes it might play out the opposite way, and sometimes it might be a fake out, but generally it is a bearish pattern, and we can't deny that. And when we see a death cross, we usually don't want to be entering the market too quickly afterwards. And so we're going to be seeing that death cross on Ethereum in about probably 2 days. And if we looked at the RSI, we're seeing no RSI divergence on Ethereum yet, which means that the strength is simply not here yet. The bulls are not buying these lows too much. We might see it soon. But so far, the downwards trend has been too strong. What I would note is that RSI is at a critical level we haven't seen since the COVID drop. And so I wouldn't be surprised, as I've said on Bitcoin as well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bounce up. On Bitcoin, a bounce to say 40K. On Ethereum, a bounce to say maybe even 3K, or maybe, if we're very conservative, 2,600 to 2,800. But I think, it wouldn't be illogical to see a bounce here across the market. But again, my short-term prediction doesn't matter. What matters is the longer-term trend, and the longer-term trend is very much downwards. And so I'm not even going to buy back in until we see a trend reversal or a bottom out in the 200. So doesn't look good. We're between resistance and support, and I think that at the best case scenario, we'll see a rejection of support and a come down to resistance here. And I think that resistance is going to come, support is going to come at 2K to 1,700. I think that Ethereum, when Bitcoin reaches 30K, Ethereum will be at 2,000 USD, and when Bitcoin bottoms, it will be at 1,700 USD, or possibly in the worst case scenario, right? Possibly even down here at 1,200 USD to around 900 USD. That is the worst case scenario for Ethereum in my personal opinion. I think that Ethereum, although I'm not a massive fan of Ethereum in terms of fundamentals, and I don't really hold much Ethereum, I still think that it has the longevity, it has the utility, lots of coins are built on the Ethereum network, for example, to survive the bear market. I think Ethereum will survive, of course, and I think it still will be number 2 by the time the next bull market comes around. And so I am confident in Ethereum, and I think that the bottoming out zone, I've previously said 1,700. I still stand by that, but what I will say is that it could go lower. It's hard to say because Bitcoin is what I know decisively. I don't know decisively for Ethereum. I'm assuming 1,200, okay? 1,700, sorry. I'm assuming 1,700. But if we drop below 1,700, we're going straight down to 1,200, okay? So very important to kind of note. The thing with Ethereum, and the reason why I can't be as confident with Ethereum, is because Ethereum doesn't have these strong indicators like we do on Bitcoin. With the 200-week SMA, we've got the 4-year cycle, we've got many things that played out a bunch of times, and we know decisively what's going to happen due to the historical data. Ethereum's newer than Bitcoin. It's less prominent than Bitcoin in the market. It controls less, and so we don't have these strong trends and these strong lines to kind of be like, that's where it's going to bottom exactly. We have to guess. And my guess is between 1,700 and 1,200, but I would favor 1,700 on Ethereum. We'll see what happens on Ethereum, but essentially it doesn't look too good, of course. And I think regardless of what happens, I think we will at least be coming down to 2,000 to 1,700. Again, guys, I want to say just again here, I want to say that, I would love for Bitcoin, I would love for Ethereum to come up right now, prove me wrong, go back above 3,400, Bitcoin goes above 48,000. I would love for that because I would make exponentially more money and I would have exponentially more followers. But I'm simply not seeing it on the charts right now. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you my personal opinion, which I see as the truth, right? I'm telling you what I think is the objective facts of the situation. I don't think anyone can sit here and tell you that these charts look bullish right now, okay? These charts are objectively bearish. They are objectively bearish. There's not many bullish things going on in the market right now. So I'm simply exercising caution and telling you guys to exercise caution because the trend suggests that we'll head down further. Whether that actually plays out or not, we'll see. Okay, but I have my invalidation points. And will I say that I have my invalidation points below where I first made predictions? So I made a prediction for Bitcoin at around 60k. My invalidation point is 48k. Even if the bullish scenario plays out, I'm still in a favorable position. So I'm not concerned at all. I'm sitting here, I'm stress-free, I don't care what happens in the market. But I think it will go down, right? I think it will go down further, for sure. All right, so that's Ethereum. Not really much to talk about there. Let's kind of get into a few more comments here. I think I'm falling behind in the comments, so I might have to skip a few guys, unfortunately. But I'll look into it. Do you like SafeMoon? So that kind of goes into meme coins to a certain extent. Do I like SafeMoon? No, not particularly. I don't think... I think those coins, the only reason they exist is because they kind of exist off hype. There's a time and a place to invest in everything. I think that even Dogecoin, even Shiba Inu, whatever, however I don't know how to say it, that one, that dog coins, right? They all have a time and a place to invest in and trade in 100%. My friend Megawhale often trades meme coins because he knows how to play against the hype. He knows very good market psychology. Shout out to Megawhale. And he definitely knows how to profit on those coins. I personally don't trade them. I think they're too irrational. I think on coins like that, TA matters too little. And I'm a technical analyst. I don't like kind of getting my ideas off sentiment. I like getting my ideas off facts and reality. So I don't like meme coins. And I don't really think they have utility to stay around in the future, unfortunately. I think that adding a decentralized exchange to a coin that's useless doesn't make it useful, unfortunately. So, question. Why when BTC got back to 38k, altcoins didn't recover as they should? Is it because of Bitcoin dominance or because fear and buying volume? I don't think altcoins were ever meant to recover if Bitcoin was in a sharp downwards trend, so I don't really understand your question, unfortunately, mate. TA on VET XLM. Yeah, we'll look into VET. We'll do a couple altcoin analyzing thingos here. And thanks for the super chat, guys. I'll look at them in a second here. I will get to your question, I promise you. I've just got a lot on my plate here at the moment. So we've got VeChain. VeChain, interesting coin, but essentially, guys, just to keep it short and sweet, I'm seeing quite clearly, just right off the bat, major support for VeChain being broken. You could argue that the major support comes all the way down here. I'm going to argue that just for the sake of this video to make it a little bit, this live stream to make it a little bit more interesting. But what I would say, I'm actually not going to do that. What I would say is that is the major support block for VeChain. I objectively think that's my opinion, right? I think the major support for VeChain is between 7 cents and 4.3 cents or 4.2 cents. And we are in that major support right now. So if the market manages to miraculously recover and we see an upswing, VeChain will do something like that, and that will be a long-term W formation. That would be great. However, I don't think that's going to happen. But what I do think is possible here for VeChain is actually a bounce off of this support. Since this is the major support zone separating VeChain from bear market prices to bull market prices, it's very much a line in the sand. We very well could see some sort of bounce. Let's bring up the MACD and see what's going on there. We see the MACD heading in for a bullish MACD cross. And so, yes, I think that the VeChain is in a prime position for a bounce right now. It would be great to see bullish divergence before we kind of head into the market here on VeChain. But bullish MACD cross coming in, major support. If we looked at the volume profile, we can see we're probably at a crevice here. Yeah, we're at the POC and the volume profile. We flipped that right now, which is good. And above us, the resistance is between around 9 cents and around 8 cents. So if we were to take a trade on VeChain, which I'm not going to do, as I've said, because I'm not getting into anything right now, but if you were to do it, you'd be looking to come up on VeChain 33% to around 7 cents. You want to be selling before you hit that VVPR resistance. So VeChain doesn't look too bad. Obviously, long trend, very clear, downwards. However, a bounce off the support wouldn't be too unlikely. Well, I got a lot of super chats. I appreciate that, guys. Let me look into those in a second. Can you check out DOT on the daily? Seems like a bear flag ready to drop. We'll check out DOT and then we head into the super chats because I do appreciate your donations. And obviously, if you do donate, I'm going to favor your questions and answer them quickly, right? That's not to say if you don't donate, I'm not going to answer your questions as well. I'll try my best, but I appreciate those donations. Means a lot. Let's look into DOT. We've got DOT. Actually, DOT we did a video on a couple of weeks ago, and I said on DOT, you would remember on DOT, this was my prediction, actually, my original prediction. I did this only not even a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, and we're at the kind of peak at this triangle here. I think we're at 24. January 19th, I think I did it. And I said, these are the clear scenarios on DOT. Wait for the triangle break. Whatever happens, this is going to be it. I said if it's a downside break, we'll reach $16, right? We actually reached $16 within 2 days of a downside break. And if it's an upside break, we reach 37. So, played out perfectly. That's a good job there for the Wolfpack, a good trade. If you entered a short position, you would have made exponential profits there on DOT. And I said, you'll remember that I said, let me delete this stuff. You'll remember that I said, if we reach $16, that may be a good place for buying on DOT. So I suppose this is the analyzing that we're going to be doing on DOT. Analysis, that's the word I was looking for. So let's see whether this is a good buy right now. Seems a lot similar to VeChain. RSI has seen a double bottom on a longer term scale since December. So we've flattened out the RSI below, just above oversold territory. MACD could converge downwards and see a bullish MACD cross there, converge upwards. Volume, let's see volume. Volume looks pretty good. We're descending volume in a downwards trend. This is looking pretty promising so far. Bull market support bands above us, obviously. Ikomoku clouds probably above us as well at that major resistance. That's major resistance now, okay? So I off the bat, just at a base level, if we looked at the weekly chart, we could probably get a better idea here. But on the daily chart, okay, so that's a bearish rejection there from the 9 EMA. On the daily chart, we don't look too bad. Let's see if we're seeing a dev cross. We've seen a dev cross, and that dev cross is actually the catalyst for drop downwards. That's probably played out now. I think the DOT will have an upswing here. I think the DOT will have an upswing from this $16 region to this around $22 resistance, reject off of that, confirm the downtrend, and head downwards, break below that long-term support line. That would be my scenario for DOT, and I'm going to favor. Let's see what happens. That's what makes sense based off of TA here. Obviously, this is a game of probability. Let's go back to DOT. I don't know what happened there with my chart. It just glitched out. It's a game of probability, but I would say that is the likely scenario. When we see a breakdown, we usually come back up to test that resistance and then break down even further. It's a four-step corrective move. And we've seen the first step, the second step would be up, and the third step would be down, okay? So a three-step correction. And so that is what I would see happening with DOT, coming back up to $22 just based off a daily chart. If you looked at the weekly chart, we can look at it quickly, actually, just to give you a better idea. The weekly chart is wicking to the major support line. It hasn't closed below it yet, which is good to see. Looking at this stuff here. Okay, bearish divergence on DOT. That's probably played out, kind of. Bearish divergence on both the MACD and the RSI, which isn't good to see actually at all. Gaussian channel. We've dropped below the Gaussian channel. Yeah, so look, I wouldn't be looking for a full recovery here. It doesn't look good for a full recovery. I wouldn't be trading this in general. As I said, I don't trade altcoins right now. But if I was to trade it, I would favor the upside scenario. I would favor a swing trade to 22 USD on DOT. Thoughts on VR? No, this guy knows what he's talking about. That's why I'm subscribed. I appreciate that, mate. I see two downside targets for BTC chart that could play out within the next few hours, which brings us to 20K. You see targets in the next few hours that could bring us to 20K. Are you saying we'll go to 20K within the next few hours? I don't think so. The 20s. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. That's a big drop, man. Yes, I've been saying in Twitter and everywhere to follow him. He's undervalued. Yeah, I appreciate the support, guys. Possible Harmony 1 bottom. I looked at Harmony 1 in the last live stream. Go ahead and check it out. I looked at it towards the beginning, so you can find it there. what range do you think Polkadot might bottom out in? So you mean a bear market bottom now? Well, a bear market bottom for Polkadot, well, what we can do, it hasn't been around for a long time, very hard to say. But what we can do is we can say, well, Bitcoin's going to drop another 40%. Polkadot will probably drop another 60%. And so we're probably looking, just based off of very fundamental analysis here, we're probably looking at the support built up at the very start of Polkadot's existence at around 7 USD. So I would expect us to go to 7 USD on Polkadot on a long-term bear market scale if we go to 20k on Bitcoin. That is very important. If we go to 20k on Bitcoin. Okay, so thanks, Ronco. Appreciate you answering all my questions. Cheers, Honey Badger. I appreciate that, man. We appreciate your honesty and straight to the point, non-biased opinions. Greetings from California as well. 2 Californians in the chat. That's great to see. Thanks, mate. Thanks, Mario. Keep posting videos and I'll keep watching, mate. Cheers. That's how it goes, mate. I post the videos, you watch the content. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Do you think you'll buy altcoins before or after the interest rate hike? I think that after the interest rate hike, we'll probably see the bottom on Bitcoin shortly after that. We'll obviously have to look into it at the time. But basically what you're asking me, essentially, what I see that question as is, do you think you'll buy altcoins when Bitcoin bottoms out? Yes. But I'll keep it to the high cap altcoins that I'm 100% confident are going to recover. So I'm looking at coins like, BNB. I'm looking at coins like Ethereum. I'm looking at the big coins here that have longevity. Litecoin, potentially. It depends how Litecoin's doing at that point. I wasn't 100% impressed with Litecoin this cycle, but it did have the strength. I'm looking at coins that have that longevity and that proven to stick around in tough times. And so, yes, I do think I'll be buying altcoins. At the time, I'll post those videos and tell you what I'm buying, obviously. Give us a man a like and donate if possible. I appreciate that. Do you think we're hitting 30k? Yes, I do think we're hitting 30k. I think we're probably going to be hitting, at a minimum, probably that 24k support block. But 30k is definitely a logical move for sure. Do you like iExec RLC? I see you did a few videos on RLC, of course. Yeah, I do like RLC fundamentally. Looking at the TA quickly. TA doesn't look good right now. But, what TA does look good, to be honest. RLC's dropped below that major support line, as you can see, and that's all we can really say about it. It's heading towards prices we haven't seen since 2020, pretty much. We're probably going to be heading towards 80 cents in RLC, and we'll hit a support block at 80 cents. I don't think we'll reach bear market prices. I think 80 cents is the major support for RLC that we'll probably bottom out on. But, it doesn't look good right now. But fundamentally, I've compared it in the past as the project that is selling the shovels to the metaverse gold mine. Or gold rush. So yeah, I do like RLC. TA on Near Protocol. TA on Matic Protocol. Yeah, we'll do Near Protocol quickly. Matic has been done recently. You can go find on my channel, I think a couple weeks ago, I've done Matic, and I've done Near recently as well. Actually, I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, Near's another one, just like Dusk, where it's kind of moved upwards massively, and people think that generally, I'm not saying you think this, mate, but I'm saying that generally people think that, hey, this coin's been moving upwards, and so it's probably a good time to get in this coin. That's not really how it works. You want to be getting into coins that haven't moved upwards yet. And so, yeah, no, I don't like the look of this. Bearish divergence straight off the bat, very similar to Near. August 2021 all the way through to January 2022. We've seen a bearish MACD cross coming in for a massive swing on the MACD as well. Let's see. Bull market support band's currently holding for support, which is great to see. I think Near Protocol is probably the one coin that I said when I did that video on coins that have kind of high valuations in the bear market. I said around $13 or something. I said, I think Near's going to swing upwards, and it did. That was the one coin I was bullish on, and I'm not bullish on it anymore. But what we are seeing right now is a retest of bull market support band. And so if you have Near positions already, which might be why you're asking this question, if we drop below and close below $10 on the weekly chart, that would be a signal to exit Near for sure. But right now, I don't think it looks good. We do have support below us right now, and so we might see some buying and selling contention in this area above 10 USD. But if we get below 10 USD, it's basically game over for Near Protocol. Let's look at Matic quickly, because the guy afterwards, I think, what's your name there? Mario. Yeah, Mario suggested that I should look at Matic. Let's look at Matic. Coinbase chart. No, let's bring up the Binance chart. I like the Binance charts better because I've looked at Binance quite a bit before. Oh, I have a pre-made chart here. I did a Twitter post on Matic saying it's probably going to break out, and it did, and we saw a gain of 100% within 3 months. So that was good. That was good to see. I have the supports all drawn up here already, which is great. Matic is very high. Matic is, a good coin fundamentally. I like Matic. And there's not really too much to say about this chart, unfortunately. we're between support and resistance. The next logical step for Matic would be to reject off of $1.74 and come down to $1, which is the major psychological support. That's what I would say about it. As for bull market support band, we've come up and we've actually rejected off of that already. I don't think we have another upswing in us in the immediate short term for Matic. I think that we will be trending downwards towards $1 for Matic, and we'll probably reach that within about a month or two. That is my prediction for Matic. The trend is your friend. Completely agree. The trend is your friend until it ends. If you don't like TA, learn it, remember it. Learn it and remember it, I should say. What on earth could possibly be a bull market catalyst anytime soon? Lots of things, right? The thing is, lots of things that we can't predict. That's the thing. We need to flush out all the shit coins, meme coins, scams, YouTubers with open mouths from YouTube. So I welcome a bearish phase. Yeah, I completely agree with you there, mate. Let the bloodbath commence. Bloodbath's already commenced, unfortunately. Could we get a quick TA on ETC, Ethereum Classic? Yeah, sure. Running out of comments here, guys. So if you've got any more altcoins you want me to analyze or any questions in general, I think I'll probably favor questions at this point. Tell me, and then after this, I'll look into the stock market quickly, and then we can probably wrap it up from there. I'll keep going for a little bit, though. I do enjoy these live streams. I do prefer it than making actual videos because when I'm making a video, there's always the risk that in the time it takes me to make the video, to upload the video, something could happen. In the live stream, you can't really miss anything, which is good, right? It's good. ETC, very similar to a lot of projects right now. It's dropped below major support, and it's in a zone in which it's coming down to test. The next major support in ETC would very much be, just looking at it from a base level, 19 USD. We can see that's acted as support throughout the bear market in this one occurrence here, and that's in that kind of February rush in January in 2021. So we've dropped below, so yeah, 19 USD would be the next logical step. What I would expect on ETC at some point, is a swing back upwards to 31 and a rejection off of that major support, possibly even a swing back upwards to 26 or 27, which could happen literally from the next few days. So I think we'll be swinging upwards, but I think ultimately we'll reject, and that's going to be a rejection off the 50-day as well on ETC, below the Kimoku, below the 50-day and 200-day, bull market support band below that as well. Everything's trending downwards. This major support block, this previously major support block between around 31 and around 40, is switched to major resistance very much so. I think that the chances of us breaking above that without a bull market continuation on Bitcoin are very, very low. ETC, though, it is worth saying that ETC does have that marketing effect, right? Natural marketing, because it is, as you guys would know, an Ethereum hard fork, I think. And so looking at what Ethereum is the number 2 coin. If you see noobs coming into the market, and I think that ETC and Bitcoin Cash will be around forever because of this reason, when new retail comes into the market, they start learning about cryptocurrency, the big names they're going to remember are Ethereum and Bitcoin, okay? And when they're looking at those, they're going to kind of flock to things that are familiar. And so they're going to flock to Ethereum, flock to Bitcoin, and then naturally they're going to flock to Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum Classic because they have the name Ethereum and they have the name Bitcoin, literally for no other reason. It's a natural marketing effect, so that's great. As for TA and Harmony, yeah, mate, I looked at Harmony in the last video, last live stream only 3 days ago, so you can go check that out. I don't think much would have changed from Harmony there. TA on ICX. Let's look at ICX quickly. ICX, conflicting data. One second, let me try and sort out this chart here. Looking at something like that, just off the top of my head here on ICX, I'm looking at something like that. We've dropped below this major support line, we'll make it a dotted line. And we have major resistance coming from this downtrending line, this red downtrending line. I think that ICX, based off my instinct and based off what typically happens in markets, as we are on major support, let me build up the major support here. As we are on major support between probably 55 cents up to around 76 cents, as we are on that major support, that might be a bit of a wide range. Maybe, we'll see. That is major support here for ICX in my opinion. When you are on major support, you typically see, if you have not been there for long, you typically see swing backs up and tests of resistance. What I think is possible to happen for ICX is a swing back up, right? And a confirmation, where is my pen? And a confirmation of a rejection off of this red descending line at around 90 cents. Or possibly even lower, possibly even 83 cents, 80 cents, who knows? It depends when you get there. If we get there in March, 90 cents. If we get there tomorrow, could be 95 cents, who knows? but I think we're going to reject off of that descending red line at some point, and it might even just consolidate until the red line actually comes down and we just reject off it further and do that. So whether we see a bounce or not is out of the question. I don't know, but what I do know is that we will be rejecting off of that red line at some point before we see further downwards trend. Okay, that is the scenario for ICX. Fundamentally, I like it. Very similar to Wanchain. I like Wanchain a lot. ICX is basically the South Korean version of Wanchain. Interoperability, great stuff going on there at ICX. South Korean teams typically been, they're very dedicated, hardworking people. And so when you look at projects that come from South Korea and even China as well, and Japan, you're looking at good projects 90% of the time. Obviously, that's not a rule you should be abiding by every time. You should definitely look into fundamentals every time. But ICX is a coin that I've compared to Wanchain on multiple occasions. I really like Wanchain, and so I really like ICX. They move together. They are very much conjoined movers. And that being said, yeah, I like Wanchain and I like ICX. Would I be buying it in the bear market? Probably not. Probably not. Are you self-taught? How did you get the knowledge and technical analysis that you have now? Yeah, I'm self-taught. A lot of people often ask me where I learnt technical analysis. I don't really have a specific place that I learned it. I just learnt it through extensive kind of just trial and error in my own time. I used to trade stocks before I traded cryptocurrency for about a year. And obviously you can see I'm not as old as some of those other traders out there, but I traded stocks for about a year before I got into crypto, and I learned everything I knew about technical analysis from stocks basically. And then all I needed to do when I got into cryptocurrency was just learn how Bitcoin worked and how it kind of controlled what other coins did, how Ethereum's leader of altcoins, what Bitcoin dominance was, just learning a quick little fundamental things about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency itself, and obviously learning how to spot good projects, etc. But most of the TA I learned was just basically from websites and YouTube videos. I can't really give you any perfect places to where you should find it. What I will say is that if you're paying to learn about TA, you're probably not doing the right thing. You can learn it for free very easily. Yes, paying might make it more convenient, and if you have money coming out of your ears, you can do that. Go ahead. But you can learn it quite easily by yourself, in my opinion. I didn't find it too difficult. Thanks a million for answering my 2 questions, mate. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I want to try and answer as many questions as I can, for sure. Because that's what it's all about, right? That's what it's all about. Could you take a look at Link? Thoughts of one. Let's take a look at Link quickly. I looked at it in my last video, actually, or the last live stream. I keep saying video. Live stream. Very similar to what happened in the last live stream, really. I mean, I said in the last live stream, nothing really's changed here. I've said that, hey, we have a little bit of support from the July bottom here at Link. We've tested it. We'll probably come back up to the red line. And that red line's sitting at around $18. We're currently at $15. So really not much has changed. Go ahead and check out my last live stream if you want a bit of a more extensive analysis there. Tuned in late, legend. Appreciate that. Thanks, Chief. Thanks, mate. Thanks from Paris. Yeah, right. I don't think I've had any French viewers before, so that's pretty cool. Thanks, Gene. Are metaverse coins a good hold for the next bull market? Depends what you mean by hold. I think the metaverse definitely has a future. I mean, Facebook wouldn't have switched to Meta if it didn't have a future. So yeah, I think that when the opportunity comes, buying metaverse coins is not a bad idea. But I think that as of right now, they're still overvalued in my opinion. I think there's been way too much retail interest in metaverse coins, and I think it needs a good flush. LTC went up to 116 today, then dropped. Do you think it can still get to 129? LTC. Yeah, I would have said, I'm pretty sure you're referring to what I said in the last live stream. Did I say it was going to go to 129? I must have. Yeah, it looks logical. It went up to 116 and then dropped. Yeah, that's because of the Bitcoin kind of pump there that happened with the FMOC meeting, the Federal Reserve meeting. Still the same kind of indicators, still the same stuff going on, bottoming out on the RSI. MACD bullish. Volume, how's the volume looking? Descending volume and a downwards trend. Yeah, I think we'll see another upswing. I don't think we're going to drop straight below support here on Litecoin. Again, before you take any of these things I'm saying too seriously, I'm just saying what I think is going to happen based off a 5-minute analysis. But yeah, I think it looks like it probably will see another upswing. But, as I've said, I'm not confident enough to be trading myself right now. That's what I think, though. Thoughts on Wonderland? I don't know what that is, unfortunately. Metaverse coin. Yeah, I've already answered that. I like Benjamin Cohen, but he uses 50 million words to make his point, whereas you just get to the point. I'm going to have to agree. No hate on Benjamin Cohen. I really like Ben. I think he's a great analyst. But I find that crypto Twitter and crypto community in general flock to these people with the big amount of following for not really much reason. I mean, Benjamin Cohen, he's a great analyst, nothing against him personally, but I don't really see a reason as to why he has 700,000 subscribers. I know a lot of people who do technical analysis a lot better than me. He's not really a technical analyst, though, as he kind of just uses historical trends to determine the future. But, I mean, considering he was wrong, like completely wrong about lengthening cycles in this cycle, yeah, it did lengthen technically, but it didn't lengthen in the way he's going to say it lengthened at all. And people kind of just don't really brush over that. He's got a way of kind of avoiding his previous predictions. I'm very clear about my previous predictions. I was wrong about Bitcoin in 2021. Of course, I was completely wrong about it. I admitted that. However, what I would say to kind of counteract that argument is I said I was wrong about Bitcoin when we were in the 60K region. And so if you listen to me, you wouldn't really have lost much money, right? Because I said my original prediction was invalidated when we were so high up. So, but Benjamin Cohen didn't say that, right? He just kind of stuck with it. I don't know. I like him a lot. I think he offers a lot of space. You need people like that. But I do agree with what you're saying. He kind of just makes a video on the bull market support band every day, a 15-minute video. It's just a bit extensive, right? It doesn't really need to happen like that. Still thinking November we hit the 200 week. I still think we'll hit the 200 week. As for whether we hit it in November or not is a big question. I would have said November previously, and I still kind of say it a little bit, because that is what would have happened, in my opinion, if we didn't have the acceleration by global events. So November was the logical place to hit it, but global events are making this drop so fast, and so it's hard to kind of predict as of right now. But yeah, the 200 week for sure. Watching from Brazil, that's great. 2 Brazilians, that's awesome. If I paid you, would you control my crypto wallet? No, I would not, unfortunately, mate. I don't want that responsibility. That's why I didn't do anything when I started Wolves of Crypto, I considered doing paid stuff and paid groups and things. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be directly responsible for someone making or losing money. I want to offer ideas. You guys can do what you want with the information. So we've still got 32 people. If you've got any more questions, let me know. But as of right now, since I've got no more questions in the comments here, I'm going to be jumping into the stock market. Actually, before we do that, let's jump into the total one index, which is it's not called the total one index. It's just, what is this called? The total crypto market cap, right? So this is every single dollar that's in cryptocurrency, $1.64 trillion currently, and we can see right off the bat, we are in between resistance and support. And resistance and support does exist on things like this. It's not just price charts in which it exists. It exists on things like this as well. And so what we're seeing right now in Bitcoin is a top out at 3 trillion, literally rejected straight off 3 trillion, clean. And we've dropped below, we kind of bounced around. You can see you tested major support, dropped below it, came back up, rejected, tested it, bounced, rejected, and now we're at 1.64 trillion. And I think that it is possible that, as I've been saying with a lot of altcoins, and this would reflect that we see a swing up to resistance at around 2 trillion before rejecting further and coming down to around 1.3 to 1 trillion. And that would be the bottom for the total crypto market cap. I think 1 trillion will be the bottom, okay? So that's what we're looking at for the total cryptocurrency market cap. And on macro structure, that's just great, isn't it? Macro structure, that's a great move because 1 trillion, as you guys will see, is confirming a macro double bottom. And if we see 1 trillion and then we start heading upwards for the bull market and then we start spiking upwards, well, that's great, isn't it? We've just made some great progress. And so 2021 may be underwhelming for a lot of people in terms of what happened, but in terms of a longer term scale, Bitcoin adoption, what's happening with cryptocurrency market cap total, looks great. It's great moves for cryptocurrency as a whole. Let's look at the SPX. Let's look at the SPX, and we'll look at probably NASDAQ after this. But SPX is the most important one. Is basically the American stock market in a nutshell. Okay, that is how I think about the SPX, the American stock market in a nutshell. Okay, and what we've seen on the SPX is quite weird price action, but it's quite predictable. We saw a bearish divergence. Okay, we dropped downwards as the Federal Reserve meeting that took place today and it's taking place again tonight neared closer. We saw extensive drop downs from 4,800 all the way down to 4,200 with a strong wick. And now we are currently sitting at 4,349. If we look at the weekly chart, we can see very clearly why we're sitting here. We are sitting here because of the 50-week SMA just above us at 4,357. That is a critical level. We haven't broken that level since the COVID drop. And so for us to lose this critical support that we haven't broken since the COVID drop, and that has acted as support so much in the past, look at this red line, Look how much support this has offered in the past on the S&P 500 or the SPX. Okay, if we lose that, it's very clear, as I've said earlier in this live stream, when you lose the red line, you typically go down to the green line. And so I don't know if that's going to play out with the amount of manipulation of the stock market, but if this was a cryptocurrency coin, that's what I would say. The stock market's a different story because the stock market's not even technical analysis at this point. It's just basically what's going on in the world and how much inflation there is. Because as you guys would know, and let's go into interest rates quickly here, the Federal Reserve has maintained their current interest rates, which are quite high at the moment. And that means that inflation is allowed to run rampant, but the stock market is going to do quite well. In March, they are planning on declining or bringing down those interest rates, which means that inflation will be kind of stopped in its tracks, or tried to at least, or slow down at the very least, but the stock market will be at risk of a major correction or even a financial recession within the USA. And so that kind of begs the question, if they trigger that potential recession, you have to think about the politics of the situation. Joe Biden, although he doesn't have direct control of the Federal Reserve, he has a major influence in it. And so if he wants to get in power again, he's probably not going to be the one he's probably not going to be the guy who wants to cause that potential recession. And so maybe he'll choose to keep those interest rates high, and that means inflation will be allowed to run rampant and basically destroy the middle class. If he brings them down, it's not his choice, as I've said, but he is a major influence in it. It's actually Jerome Powell's choice. If they bring the interest rates down, the stock market could see a major correction. Cryptocurrency could see a major correction, but it would be good for the long-term economy, as inflation will be kind of stopped in its tracks, or at least lowered at the speed of which it's increasing, which is very necessary if you know anything about economics. Economics 101, inflation's bad, okay? Inflation's bad. So don't look good on American stock market as well. For the short time, BTC will crash, in your personal opinion. Do you mean in the short term? Do you think it will crash in the short term? As I've said, let's go to the Bitcoin chart. As I've said, in the short term on Bitcoin, where is this chart? Hold on, one day chart. In the short term, it looks as though, according to this channel formation, we'll swing back up to 40k. Okay. However, there is descending volume on the daily chart. I'm not 100% confident in that. I don't really know what's going to happen in the short term. What I do know is that it doesn't look like we're going to break 40k. And if we do, it doesn't look like we're going to break 48k. And if we break 48k, I'm bullish again. Okay? That's what I do know. I wouldn't be surprised if we come up to 40k. I also wouldn't be surprised if we come back down to the bottom of this channel at 32k. What I would recommend you do is go to your cryptocurrency chart, go to TradingView, draw up this channel right now, this descending channel formation, and just keep an eye on it, because this channel is going to be very telling of what's going to happen in the future for Bitcoin. Do you think retail investors have lost interest in Bitcoin? Well, I assume you're referring to Google Trends, right? Google Trends would tell you that Bitcoin, the search term Bitcoin is at an all-time low. Well, not an all-time low, but a 2-year low, I think, or a 1-year low. And yes, I do agree with you partially. I think retail investors have partially lost interest in Bitcoin, but I don't think it matters. I don't think that affects the long-term health of Bitcoin, because if they lose interest in Bitcoin, they naturally lose interest in altcoins and cryptocurrency, because Bitcoin is controller of the market. If Bitcoin goes down, altcoins go down, and so it's impossible for someone to lose interest in Bitcoin. They could lose interest in buying Bitcoin, but I haven't seen that. I haven't seen a massive, closing of the market cap gap between Ethereum and Bitcoin. So yes, I think there's less retail interest in Bitcoin right now. That's because it's not free money like it was in 2017, 2013. If you bought in 2017 to 2013, it's basically free money. The corrections lasted like 2 days, and you basically just went up and got a 10x for free. It's not free money anymore. It's a financial market, and so there's going to be more people deterred or less interested in buying, because they're going to think of it as an actual risky, thing that could actually go down, rather than just a free money machine like it was in 2017 and 2013. So retail interest has decreased. That's undeniable. Google Trends shows you that. But we're in a bear market, so, what can you expect? I don't think that means that Bitcoin's use case has become obsolete at all. I think that people will flock to Bitcoin once they realize how bad inflation actually is. You'll notice, guys, that outside of the cryptocurrency community, if you speak to anyone in real life, like any of your friends, any of your family, they don't even know the first thing about inflation. Yes, they know what inflation is, but they don't know what's going on. They don't know how bad it is. They don't know how bad it could get. And so once they start to realize that, they're going to start to kind of naturally become interested in alternatives to centralized banking and alternatives to centralized monetary systems, and ways in which inflation can be stopped. And one of those ways is adopting a kind of financial system based around Bitcoin, or at least a hard money asset that doesn't inflate drastically or isn't at the kind of will of the Federal Reserve on a daily basis, or at least a partial adoption, because right now it's just very unsustainable. There hasn't been a fiat currency that has ever existed that has basically succeeded. Every fiat currency ends up failing historically. There's not one fiat currency that's been around for centuries. It just doesn't happen, right? They always end up crashing, and with the crash of the fiat currency, I don't mean a literal crash, but I mean basically crashing and burning in terms of their utility. With the crash of the fiat currency comes the crash of the political system in which it is maintained within. And so that could be the United States. Who knows? In the long term, do you think Bitcoin can surpass gold, real estate, or the stock market in total market cap? It can pass gold, I think. Then again, lots of countries hold gold. It's very hard to say. I don't know too much about the total market caps of any of those things, to be honest. I know the stock market cap is like 15 trillion or something. Yeah, I think in the long term it can, especially if the goal of Bitcoin succeeds, and I would be inclined to believe that it would. I think that Bitcoin is basically the best chance humanity has. So at this point, regarding the S&P, do you think they will continue to unload and dump until March? No. I don't think so. I don't think that. I think that the S&P, and again, this relies on global events. So, if Russia bloody goes to war with the US, who knows? But I think that it's kind of maintained the status quo for now. And so people have kind of gotten a little bit of a get out of jail free card until March. I think that as March becomes closer, more fear is going to be in the market and more volatility is going to come. But I don't think we're just going to dump until March. I think that will probably move sideways, possibly go down a little bit, possibly retest support. And as inflation is still high, we'll probably trend upwards overall. But in March, when that does happen, I think there'll be a correction in the markets, and it could be substantial. It could actually bring the United States into recession. Who knows? So we've run out of questions there. We have the best president, which his goal is to destroy the dollar, of course. Look, I wouldn't necessarily blame the president himself for that. That's just the whole system. The whole system's broken, man. Fiat currency just simply doesn't work, and I don't know how many times it needs to be proven throughout history. The only reason it still exists is to control. And that's just my opinion, of course. Fiat currency does have its positives. I think that a lot of people with cryptocurrency don't see the positives of fiat currency. There's a lot of positives to it as well. But I think the negative effect outweighs the positive. The fact of the matter is, it's hard to have a system in which you control your people without controlling the financial system your people use. And so that's something that global economies are going to have to, kind of battle with in the future. And I have zero opinion on the United States politics. I'm from America. I'm from Australia. I don't know the first thing about, Joe Biden or Donald Trump. I know very, very basic things about them. What I do know about is finance and the economy. And I do know that fiat currency is not going to work in the long term. I think that it's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And I think that once you go down the rabbit hole of printing currencies and printing money, it very much is a rabbit hole. It doesn't end. Okay, it doesn't end. Anyway, I think we're probably going to wrap it up here, unless we get some more questions. Hey, joined late. Pal did not say anything for an hour. I don't know what you mean by that. But I have seen on Twitter, I think you might be referring to, I have seen on Twitter, because I didn't actually watch it, right? I was sleeping. It takes place at the most inconvenient time possible in Australia. But what I do know is the key takeaway is that they're not raising interest rates. And so I assume you're meaning that he just rambled on about nothing for a while and then eventually just said, yeah, we're not raising interest rates until March. Anyway, bye. And he probably just said nothing for 3 hours. Yeah, so that's what they do, right? That's what they do. Politicians and the Federal Reserve, they're very much alike. They're basically just politicians at this point. Anyway, guys, I think that's it. We've run out of comments. 38 people. That's pretty amazing. What's your favorite coin? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is my favorite coin, for sure. As for altcoins, I don't have a favorite altcoin. I think that once you start, saying, I have a favorite altcoin, I have a favorite this, have a favorite that, you start having biases towards those altcoins, and then you start losing money, right? You need to be able to remain objective. I have altcoins that I like. Right, I like this coin. I like the fundamentals, but I never fall in love with the coin. That's another rule of crypto. Don't fall in love with the coin. As soon as you fall in love with the coin, you're going to set yourself up for a losing trade. Watching this on company time. Yeah, well, they're not paying you enough to be there, man. So, I'm glad you're using your spare time at work for education in your personal life. It's good to see. It's good to see. Just make sure you don't lose your job. Thanks for the live chat. I appreciate that. Whoops. You've been killing it with recent videos. Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. Anyway, I'm going to start doing these more often. I like live streams. I think it's more interactive with the community. I get to answer more questions. Whereas, if someone recommends an altcoin video and I do a normal video, it takes like 2 hours to make the video. It's a very big commitment on my end. And so and then you get 15 people a day asking for an altcoin video. It's very hard to do. Whereas in a live stream, yeah, I give you quick, short analysis on them, and they're not really massive, in-depth breakdowns. They're not telling you what's going to happen in 3 months, 3 years. It's just short, quick, and it fills the spot for a lot of the community, and that's all they want. Because I remember when I was new to cryptocurrency, I used to jump on live streams, and I used to ask for my altcoins to be recommended. Or to be analyzed, and all I wanted was a quick 30-second look to tell me I'm not investing in something that's going to drop 90% tomorrow, and that's all you need really, and it's great to see that I can provide that to community. So thanks guys, and I'll catch you in the next